a little bit more male looking than, we're all got to treat them with respect and integrity. And because of the explosion, it's a combination of reclamation and creation. But we have to be wary of creation under colonization. So there's a lot of things that's going on right now. And to give people the right titles and gender appropriateness, we have to be very sensitive and careful of how we refer to people, because some people could think the opposite of what you're saying, So you're thinking about it. This is more than, it's a bigger picture than just, it's part of why we created this primer as an attempt to document the movement, to express and identify the complexity. See, this is a major thing. It's the complexity of gender while acknowledging its history and intersections. There are some terms in this primer that are not directly related to the gender, but are still defined in order to help set the context within each rest of the primer is established. So again, gender is extremely personal. It's the ability to try to express our understanding of gender is personal and complicated. It is, and it will forever be, because someone could look a certain way. Like, for instance, I'm sure everyone's up to date with Demi Lovato. She's an artist, and she came out as non-binary. Now, that's a very interesting situation there, and that's the way she wants to be referred to as. So all these different expressions of gender, it's a way to serve to express who we are in different ways, male or female, the different words, the different phrases, So it's just something that we have to understand and adapt to, because our gender is extremely personal. Trying to express our understanding of gender is personal and complicated, and the words help us express those things that we try to do ourselves. So it's important that you come across someone that, well, they may not seem like you, but each and every one of us is to be given the same amount of respect and integrity as each other. There is something called assigned gender at birth, no designated gender at birth or intersex. So this explains it is sometimes written as GAAB or GAB, gas. This refers to what gender someone was assigned at birth. This is used when talking about a range of people who experience a set of common issues based on their birth assessment. So that's very interesting. There's a lot of things that people do with their lives and their bodies and themselves, and the AGAB is used by many transgender people to talk about their gender experience without having to use the narratives about what gender they used to be. That's very interesting. That dynamic right there. I mean, it's powerful stuff. They're telling you how these people want to be referred to and remembered, classified, whatever you want to identify. So it's very important to pay attention, because you don't want to mess up, use the wrong term to identify or use to refer to someone. So sometimes seen as an AGAB, IS is to be inclusive of intersex, people who are dealing with similar situations, but who do not identify with binary assignment. label, e.g., AFAB. People should generally get gap smears as it can help find and treat issues before they become life-threatening. So let me explain here. The AMAB, all bold letters, people face high rates of harassment when outwardly expressing themselves in what is commonly seen as a feminine manner. So, like I said, no matter how a person appears, that package of a human, male or female, it doesn't matter. If they're to a woman, one might think, oh, that one is kind of more feminine, more masculine. It doesn't matter. You have to be very careful of the words, phrases, tones, or anything, expression you use on these people, because it's not acceptable. So as we go on in life, you learn that these identification, ways of classifying people or discussing them, have been used to discuss them in a better light so they can be respected and treated with fairness. So that's all we're trying to express here, okay? The time that we live in is changing terminologies when it comes to sex, and that's what this conversation is about. And it's interesting when you see someone on TV and you go, oh, sometimes, is that a man? Is that, So when they're in your face, straight in your eyes, you have to give them the utmost respect, because each one of them are just like another male or female that's 100% heterosexual. So in agender, you want to say that this is people that define their gender in a variety of ways. Some agender people define their gender as being neither a man nor a woman, while others understand themselves as not having any gender at all. So let's reiterate. Agender people may or may not transition physically, legally, or socially. So, Teresa, that's a very interesting dynamic there.
It is. I've been tall and look like a man as far as height. 5'11". I've been called Amazon and had sexual innuendos because I was considered above average in looks, and I resented that. So most of my life I was wanting to be a boy. So I didn't know there was a word for what I had as a tomboy, like gender dysphoria now, but I always felt like I was in the wrong body. So that's why I relate more as going on 70 to more of an extraterrestrial entity, having died and came back. There's a whole other area that we need to address. And I would think that might be a beginning to start under agender. People definitely don't want to define their gender like me, because we're not even sure, because our spirit feels more masculine in a woman's body, but I'm not attracted to male or female, which makes me asexual. But let's talk about that non-binary and transgender umbrella.
That's really interesting.
I know that's a lot to tell somebody that I don't know, and Melinda and I are just getting to know each other, and she's very educated, and, I've had a lot of jobs, but growing up, I swear, I guess God put me in a place where I grew up in the South and believed in a higher power and a source, and got into metaphysics and studied world religions, but I didn't study any of this. And I love RuPaul. I think he's a wonderful artist, and he's become a multimillionaire and married a wonderful man living in Montana, and they're happily ever after, So I've learned a lot. My brother was gay, Melinda, in Houston, Texas. He was on Oprah Winfrey. and he didn't know what he was, and we didn't have the words to tell him. We never knew he was gay. He didn't know he was gay, and he lived with me after I had divorced my husband and was in the military, and I'd moved I was in the military, but I moved back home to Houston, and he went to we didn't know what to do with him. He was a twin in my mother's womb when he was born with my sister Wendy, but they were not identical twins. So Wendy's a beautiful blonde, blue-eyed. He was dark-skinned, hazel eye, sort of fuzzy hair on the back of his neck, and just like two different parts of my mother, but they were like two different kittens. One was male, one was female. But Wendy was always shy and reserved little girl, and he was just, I told Mother when he was born, Mom, there's something wrong or something different about him. But I could feel as a child his spirit. But I had died as a child in the second grade, so I knew spiritually things felt different to me, and I used to have to keep my mouth shut. So I wonder if this agender, if there's agender people define their gender in a variety of ways. So I don't know if all this stuff I'm talking about, beyond my brother being born, I believe that people are born that way. They may, and some may not even be born to know what gender they are going to be, and that's why I think
that's true.
Children.
I agree. I mean, I've never met anybody in my lifetime so far. I mean, the only thing of genders and changing, who you are is people I've seen on TV. Bruce Jenner and now he's Caitlyn Jenner and Chaz Bono and whatever. But other than that, I've never, I've seen people that you look at them and you're like, you stand there and you look like, what is that, a man or a woman, and just make you just like confused, So, but, at the same time, like I said, if someone comes up to me, I'm in a store, like, you're in a really well-known area where these individuals hang out, whatever, they're known, fine, I have no problem. I just respect people accordingly and just treat them with the same, respect that I am,
Well, let's say what we're using today, folks, is a primer prepared by a let's see, what was the name of that? Home Primer Index. It's an
Transgender.
organization. Okay. And we're really happy that they did this, and that's our source, so we need to
Home
cite that.
Primer X Pride Flags About or whatever. That's the whole title. But that's the roundabout of this whole thing, and it's a really in-depth discussion because, as like I said, whatever I've read and explained, it's really interesting. Like I said, I have not in my lifetime. I don't think I've met anybody, that have experienced this, or no one has ever said it, so I don't know. You can know somebody and you don't know what they are in those, interesting ways. But I could say I don't think I've met anyone like this. And I know it's not an easy way to go about life because you have to express what happened and, give the explanation to whoever asking you, and it's a lot of stuff. So I'm sure the life of this person. Huh?
What do you think? Like, I was assigned at birth my gender as a female. My brother, although he grew up with effeminate ways and looking different, he was never really accepted by men or women growing up, so I know how hard it was for him in school. But because he had an outie, he was a boy, and because I had an innie, I was a girl. But I had jobs like law enforcement, criminal justice, investigator, cop. Let's see, I went in the military. I wore uniforms. I learned weapons. I drove a big truck over the road, 18-wheeler for years. We pulled for Microsoft, U.S. Treasury, and got clearances, and then went into personnel information